Yeah, it looks like we are almost underway.
Okay, at last some tiles are being drawn. Evans is using the technique of looking far away from the bag. In Scrabble in North America, there is a rule about drawing tiles. Believe it or not, we even are as specific with our rules as what we draw and how we draw. So Evans has turned his eyes away from the bag while taking the tiles. You're also supposed to hold the tiles above your eye level, but not everyone is picky about that if it's clear you're not looking at the bag. So it looks like Evans has made an exchange because he had a fairly clunky rack there.
Very quickly, he makes the right exchange. 7 consonants, no valid play. Just keep the best three.
I think we'll be seeing another exchange because Joel has also drawn a load of Drek.
Defective tile set here. There's some vowels.
And Evans has made a very nice draw after making that exchange.
Yeah.
So we're going to see Evans playing a 7-letter word next turn for sure.
Ooh, interesting exchange by Joel. I think it's probably correct to keep ZR together. He had a couple other options, but that looks most synergetic. The Z, certainly a letter you want to hold on to.
He's also interested in creating easy scores for himself because he needs to win by those 90 or more points here. Yep. So Zed will give him a lot of chances to score even without playing a bingo or a bonus to please our international friends.
Evans has no shortage of options here. Several bingos from this rack. Eastern, Earnest, Ratines, the Collins only, and also Nearest. So he opted for Eastern, which seems as good as anything. And ooh.
So Azyme is a possible option for Joel here. A-Z-Y-M down to the A.
Which looks like maybe precisely the play he needs because you have to forgive my Collins confusion, but I believe it takes an E hook as well, which is a very volatile type of play to make. The E, the most likely tile to draw in the set with 12 total, 10 left after Eastern. A play like that may be just what Joel needs here.
Joel will need that volatility for sure if he wants to keep on scoring, so I would think with Azyme it would be in his favor for sure to opt for a play like that. Haven't looked too hard at some of the other options here. There are potentially better options.
Well, he's going for that M. Evans, meanwhile, has he's been saddled with the Q, but otherwise hard to ask for too many better draws than that. He's not going to bingo on the next turn, but he's got that first blank, which with Evans needing only to lose by less than a certain amount, it's not so much that he has the blank, but that Joel does not have it, which must be a relief to him now. Wouldn't be surprising to see Joel take a little extra time on certain moves just because he does have to consider his slightly different objectives in this game than a usual game. He's not just trying to win the game, but going for a blowout win, so you have to think a little harder maybe on each move whether that helps you achieve that objective. Interesting. I see Joel may be considering playing rhymed through the first E of Eastern, which I see the reasoning for that, keeping the kind of potent IZ combination and potentially trying to draw a word ending in IZE going down the triple lane, which would be a very heavy play if he can manage to draw it.
And besides that, with rhymed, he is also creating an additional lane from the D for 7s down to the line there. All the letters in rhymed, of course, are opening up opportunities for 8s on the top of the board. Joel's doing his best to keep his board as wide open as possible. Yeah, rhymed or... Yeah, I'm not really sure. Rhymed or Azyme, that allows him to draw more tiles than Azyme is another potential reason for opting for that.
It was an interesting choice. I wouldn't say I disagree with it. I certainly see the logic to it. It's And, ooh, so close. It looked like if that last F on Joel's rack had been an A, he would have notarize. But Evans plays the pretty straightforward Kin, Q-I-N, Keen. Leaving a pretty nice bingo lead with that L-Y in the blank.
And he's got Beefily lined up on his rack for the
That's
next
right.
turn. Doesn't look like it plays, but he does have that. Briefly wouldn't play either.
And I believe beefily is one of the few words in our dictionary which actually is spelled in alphabetical order, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit earlier about alphagrams. That's something that we do as expert players, where we line up all the letters in alphabetical order on our rack as a way of triggering our memory from having seen these words before when studying. And beefily is one of those 7-letter words where even when it's organized in alphabetical order, it still makes the word beefily. It looks the exact same as it would. So there's not really a whole lot of difficulty memorizing that compared to maybe some of the other more obscure words that we use.
Yeah, a few other words. I could think of billowy. I think that's another word like that. There's a couple more. But that little piece of trivia aside, Evans with a 68-point lead and a very enterprising rack right now. Tough position for Joel, who not only needs to win, but needs to win by a lot. And so he's going to have to make a lot of action happen here in a hurry.
One suggestion given in the chat is Rosit and Chi and It as a scoring play that also opens up the board some. I like it as a potential option there. The lead's not great, but Joel needs to consider points here all the time and keeping that board open, so he may still go for that in the end.
Yeah, that looks like I mean, you would like to keep something a little better than FN, but his options are constrained by just not having the ammunition to do much more than that right now. So,
meanwhile, Evans has pulled up the hoodie.
Oh, he's
looking at the board.
He's got his game face on. Ooh, another potential option here would be the word feasibly. Evans, if he sees that, that would be through the S of Eastern.
Feasibly would be a great play here for sure.
Yeah.
I keep on getting these Arrow vibes. For those of you who have watched Arrow on TV, Evans is making me think of one of the characters there. I'm just hearing it right now. You have failed this city.
Well, Evans is known by most Scrabble players as a bit of a superhero to begin with, so at least I consider him to be that. So we'll see if he can prove why I believe that.
And he has
there
seen
it
feasibly.
is.
It's going out
So
very
quick.
quickly on the board. Great find by Evans. We have a username of Evans fan in the chat. Hello, Evans fan.
You see, I'm not his only fan.
I love me some Evans as well.
Joel does have a...
He has 4 went.
Okay, Joel is going to just take a look at this. Looks like he's challenged, which costs him only a few points, but the upside for the challenge in this scenario is pretty big. If it happens to not be a valid word, which unfortunately for him it is, that would be a very big swing in his favor. So it makes sense that he would take a chance on that. And it's going to come back good and give Evans a couple more points, 5 points for a successful or a 1 challenge.
So Evans will continue to draw after that challenge, which works in his favor, to hand him 5 more points. Just as a refresher for those of you out there who are familiar with the tournament Scrabble scene in North America, but not with the Collins variation, rather than losing a turn on an incorrect challenge, you give up 5 points to your opponent for an incorrect challenge. So Evans gets an extra 5 points there, and it's still Joel's turn. Joel will have 4 went next, and meanwhile Evans has drawn cuspate. And teacups is the other word that's in there.
Yeah. Evans continuing to put major pressure on here. I see that Joel does indeed have 4 went, and it is going to play, and we'll see what that... see if Evans is going to be able to bingo with this rack on what's looking like a increasingly difficult board. So Joel's not out of it yet. Would be really helpful to Joel to draw something
Yes.
excellent out of the bag right now. If he draws a clunky rack, that really sets him back in his not necessarily to win the game, but to win by a lot.
I think it's in Evan's interest to consider a play making cheese and za and something else to limit over there and score some points. The S actually is not looking to be extremely important for him in the lead at this point. He can use it easily to score well there and lock down some option.
Yeah, putting that S there, as Jesse says, really locks down that part of the board. It could be reopened again with a play hooking za with another letter, but that would make things tough on Joel for sure.
Meanwhile, Joel's going to be having a pretty hard time with his next rack. It's
He
very
sure will.
vowel heavy.
Yeah, he sure will. Evan's thinking hard. I'm sure he's thinking along these same lines. Just looking to keep the board closed.
UPass has been given as a suggestion in the chat. I like that play. It does take an O in Collins as well as a potential hook. So he may not want to play that after all.
Well, it would be kind of, in order to bingo with the O hook on UPass, Joel would need a very precise bingo with an O in fourth position, meaning an O is the fourth letter of the word. So,
True.
as far as risks go, that's a decent one to incur because it's just not terribly likely. But we'll see what he opts to do. Well, looks like those letters are making their way. There it is.
Now he's seen it.
Yep, those letters are making their way over to that side of the rack. And I think we like this play, if he were to play it. But it's kind of a position with some gray area, so we'll see if he... One thing he shouldn't do is succumb to the allure of the fact that his rack is very friendly to bingos. Normally that's a good thing, but this board does not support bingos terribly well. The only really good S-hook is after in on the right side of the board. Well, okay, looks like he has done just that.
He's going for Pui. Or Pui, I'm not how to say it even.
Yeah, Pui. Which is, in a vacuum, this is a perfectly good play. But maybe given the situation, he could have opted to play it closer to the vest.
Fortunately for him, Joel is in all sorts of trouble here, so
Yeah.
there's not going to be too much of an issue. Evans, however, has pulled JG out of the bag.
Not great for bingos, but very good for scoring, and that's just fine with him.
So Joel is opening the board as he needs to.
Definitely a good play there. He had so many vowels. He really needs at least 3 consonants here. Seeing if Evans has any kind of big J play through that C. Looks like if he had one more E instead of an A, he would, but I don't think I see it.
Yeah, so there's no ejecta or anything similar going down on this turn, or it even just ejects, but he would likely see and play ejecta if he had those 2 E's.
Joel has not drawn the consonants he needed.
And the nice thing with Pui as well, as has been pointed out in the chat, is it also blocks that 7 line from the D in rhymed, which is fairly good.
True.
leaving the right side open would have required an S or a K or a G or an N to play down there, whereas any vowel except for a U could be played off of the D and rhymed for any bonus place. So reasonable decision here by Evans.
Yeah, I would really not call it a mistake so much as just one option of a couple there. He's taking that route, and we'll see how it works out.
So a really good example of, we talked last round about forking plays, actually would be the term that I would use, where you make a play to open up the board in at least 2 positions for bingo plays so that your opponent can't block both and you have a chance to use at least one of them. Joel has the opportunity to play Uncia on his next turn through the C in Chow to do just that. I would see him playing something similar to that on his next turn here. Meanwhile, Evans has played Jag underneath the PU in Pui.
Looks like a straightforward, good play there. Points and leave, and Evans is drawing pretty well.
Oh my.
That's devastating for Joel. That is devastating for Joel. He really needed that second blank. But yeah, as Jesse was saying, Uncia looks like a good play through that C.
It will benefit Evans greatly, assuming that he does that.
Yes, it will. Joel can't worry about that, though. He's just got to make the play that
of course
is, you know, the best for him in this situation. Uncia is especially good because it takes a whole slew of hooks. You can put an E on it, an L on it, and an S on it, and all of those, you know, are no S. Okay. Oh, that's right. I remember that. Yeah, it's parallel. I'm remembering now that the form of Uncia that takes an S is if you put an L on it, then that word pluralizes. That's what it is. To unseals, but
Uncier otherwise is the option
Uncier
there.
is good enough to, you know, make a lot of words there if you can pick another. Well, he will have an E after that play, so it makes it even better. But Evans is primed to hammer that opening, unfortunately for Joel. So all the Evans fans out there are watching in anticipation for the Joel fans.
Not looking too good.
Not looking good, but you got to remember, he's done well to get this far. He is a champion level player, and he's made no discernible mistakes so far in this game. It's just the flow of the tiles has not been there for him. So that's just how it goes. It's a cruel game at times. Anyway, most times.
Not so cruel to you there, William.
Well,
you've done very well.
There's time yet for it to become cruel. Let me not jinx it by saying anything
Let's
about that.
hope for your sake it does not.
Well, we'll see.
So Joel's really taking time to think about this position here. If he were in more dire circumstances, needing a lot more spread, he would maybe consider playing Uncia with the E already on it to create a triple-triple opportunity for himself. But he's not down by enough in this series where he'd need to do that, and he would not be aware necessarily of what Evans has in his rack. But it looks like Joel's gone for a
very interesting play. Yeah.
Safe play here, going with Tao, Zo, and At, not creating 2 lanes there. Maybe he's
he probably balked a little bit just at the sheer volatility of Uncia. Like that may have been, you know, what the doctor ordered here, but man, it's hard to make a play like that just yields such excellent counterplay. And look at what Joel's drawn. He's drawn a bingo of Navoid. Yes. So that appears it's going to play using the opening that he's created. But he's not going to be happy to see this.
Evans
second blank.
Yeah. So Scented goes down, blank N there. Joel have Navoid next. Yeah, really, other than just challenging the one word, I would assume that Joel probably would have been reasonably sure that was a word, but perhaps for strategic reasons related to spread, he just had to challenge to make sure.
Yep.
So for the chat where you pointed out that was a mistake, it's obviously it's a mistake in the sense that you shouldn't give up the 5 points, but strategically speaking, if you're not sure of the word, it is a good idea to challenge when you need to have spread.
Yeah, of course, in a vacuum, it's a mistake to challenge any word that's a valid word, but that does not take into account your confidence level in the word and other human factors that you can't really ignore. So, but Evans with a very sizable lead here, well over the score that Joel's going to get from his bingo when it comes down, presumably. And Evans has drawn a bunch of good scoring tiles too, which is helpful to him as he really doesn't need to worry about bingoing again. Instead, just keeps some scoring pressure on. So, after Navoid, should also point out that this unhook, you can hook that with an S, but you can also hook that with an I for uni, which is a word that's also been added to TWL. It was good in Collins already. But Evans happens to have 2 of those I's, and we'll see if it doesn't look like the I is the perfect letter to play down there, but
I'm not seeing anything that would allow him to capitalize on that particular hook, which is good for Joel. Evans needs to be cautious again that he doesn't give Joel an easy way back into the game. So even if he can't do uni there, he'll probably still play something using that line to take it out, because that is an easy way for Joel to get a lot of points without a lot of effort.
Yeah. Yeah, that is currently easily the most dangerous threat on this board. So if ever there were a chance for Joel to get back in the game, it would be Evans playing somewhere else and Joel drawing something good. He's drawn some eyes, but to my knowledge, I don't see a bingo with that rack, but that could be my inexperience in Collins. So, yeah, what Evans, I saw that he had set up OK, O-K-E-H, which would play in the lower right quadrant of the board for a pretty hefty score. Not having any really great options to deal with that new lane, making uni, he may just opt to score and keep 2 eyes, which hopefully he'll draw. From his perspective, hopefully he can get some consonants that play and close up that lane before Joel can colonize it with a bingo.
A very gutsy play. I'm not going to see it go down here, but Evans could play How, Joe, and Pa, setting up Pock for a huge score next turn down to the triple if he draws the right letters. I don't think he'll do it because it's fairly unsafe, but it would be a very interesting decision.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. So Evans, yeah, this is a pretty textbook play. I guess if he really wanted to cut that lane down, he could have played Chew, leaving a horrible, horrible leave. But I think what he did was superior to that by a good margin.
So Joel is one option here. He could just play Bill, Uni, Al, and L, but he may want to leave that open to try and score more on a future turn. So we could see him opening up another spot on the board here rather than take that out, because he is down by just about 100 now.
Yeah, I guess Evans had Hickey available through the Sea of Chow on the previous turn. Wow, that would have scored quite a bit. It does open the top part of the board, but it also, well, boy, that's volatile, but it may have been best.
Evans has come very close to drawing a fun Collins-only bingo. If that O were an A, he would have Tau Iwis, which is a fantastic play.
That's right.
But instead, because it's an O, he is stuck with some clunky letters. Joel is making the play. Yeah. He's going to go for Blight, I guess.
And the game situation has dictated this type of play. So not only that, it probably scores about as much as he can get on this board right now.
So Evans is doing exactly what he needs to do.
Yeah, that's the... Oh, yeah.
Fantastic play.
Yep.
Clearing up his rack and scoring so much.
Clear best play here. This is a Collins-only word, and Evans is unfazed by that and slaps it down instantly. Bad news for Joel, because Evans has just cleaned up very poor tiles with a very high-scoring play. And he's left IS to boot, which may be the best possible leave he can get on this board for bingoing, given that right side of the board and uni hook.
So Joel is challenging. He needs this to not be good.
Yeah, these points are adding up for Joel now.
Interestingly enough, Woobit actually was just added, if I'm not mistaken, in the last TWL update. So I believe it actually works in both books now.
Well,
Let me check.
I'm ashamed to admit that that's news to me. So
I have looked at
okay.
my source wrong. No, it is still only Collins.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better.
I had my notation set wrong on my laptop.
Well, it happens to the best of us, and you are the best of us, Jesse. So.
Well, shucks. You flatter me, William.
Of course.
So it's back on Joel's turn, again with Collins' rules for challenges. You only lose 5 points per word that you challenge, but you don't lose your turn should you be incorrect on the challenge, which is probably the biggest difference that players find when they go back and forth or switch from one dictionary to the other.
Aside from the 100 zillion words that are
of course.
in Collins.
So Joel's again going to be trying to think of a way to open this board up. I'm not really sure, to be honest. There's a whole lot he can do that Evans can't just take out in one turn. But to be fair, the far right lane is still wide open for him for any uni potential words. So unlined doesn't quite play on Joel's rack.
Yeah, he's got 2 L's, so we'll see. It's tempting to make a play now on the triple with uni, but he really may need that to stay alive, to have a chance. I think he may have to. He's kind of forced into a strategy of opening triple lanes while Evans just keeps whack-a-moling. Evans will open, Joel will open and Evans will close. And unless, Evans has a pretty poor rack, but those S's will probably save him if Joel does open. Maybe, I don't know, maybe something like Lum, maybe something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did that, or Dooley maybe to try and create a triple-triple situation.
That's a reasonable idea too. It's hard to hit that U, but then again, it's going to be hard no matter what Joel does. So, and actually, that U there is among the worst things that Evans can see. He has almost no real, good looking play there. I guess he could play OI on top of that and keep AAASS. That would close down.
The Canadian in me is coming out. I am seeing the Quebecois variation of yes in French, ouais, O-U-A-I-S, which does not work in either of our English dictionaries, but that would clear off his rack in French Scrabble.
That would be a useful word.
In Collins only, there is awa, A-U-A. He could also throw an S on there just to hit that double and try and empty one more letter from the bag.
And it looks like he's got those tiles in hand. So, would not be terribly surprising to see him slap those down. It looks like a good play.
Yeah, so he is going to opt with awas, adding one of those S's since he does have a second. It gives him a few more points. Makes sense. He's just taking out the most dangerous spot here by far, and keeping an eye for himself actually in the process for any uni plays possibly for himself on future turns.
Yeah, he does create a new lane, whereas with
Wow.
holding the S.
Evans has just drawn Aporias down on the right side if
Oh
Joel
my
doesn't block
goodness! Insult to injury, and Joel really has a lot of incentive to leave that spot open. So.
So Joel's probably going to play Gox and Pax and Joe, something similar, just for points.
And that looks like a great play from his perspective, and then Evans is going to finish him off with
Aporias will be the nail in the coffin.
Just a death
sure.
blow here. You can't come back from that, yeah.
So with that, we're going to see Evans also through to the semifinals.
There's the right play. Joel makes the right play, and
Evans wastes no time.
Here comes his reward. Yeah, here comes his reward. This is a monster score. Looks like
And
probably
Joel,
100 or so point. 91. Okay. Only 91.
Yeah, Joel mouthed
yeah.
something. I wasn't quite sure what it was, but it can't be anything good. So congratulations to Joel on a well-fought series. Other than the challenge, I really didn't see much that he did that would have been, well, I guess 2 challenges. There wouldn't have been much here that I saw that would have been blatantly off. I think in this case, Evans just picked really well and played really well, obviously.
I like the idea behind rhymed. I liked most every move except, I mean, maybe he could have played Uncia instead of Tau. Would have been nice to keep a couple extra consonants in that E, but regardless of, Evans was sitting on a blank rack and Joel drew into a bingo, so it really didn't work out that poorly. Just the rest of the game didn't flow for him. So good effort by Joel, and well done to Evans for advancing through the first round.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate, but sometimes at this level, it is stuff like this that really decides these kinds of series.
The tiniest little changes in your move can make huge differences sometimes. The worst is when you make the correct play and get punished for it, but I don't think that's what happened here. I think Evans was gonna be tough to beat regardless of what Joel did.
So then just to clarify as well, I'm seeing just some questions about the setup here for the cameras and commentary. We only have one camera setup on one board, so we're unable to switch between the different boards. As soon as we have players that are on the board that we're commentating on, it's that game for this round. And then after that, we switch players in and out, depending specifically on who is still in the running in their series. So Joel's made the fairly straightforward, reasonable play here of log underneath his previous play of Gox.
Yeah, just playing out the string. Yep. He still looks to be focused and trying to work out his best end game, even though he's certainly fully aware that he's been eliminated here. So well done to him for keeping his chin up. I guess maybe he had a play of Gride through, looks like the D of Scented, or Lore instead of Jog would have been mathematically his best.
Lore likely would have been it just because it gets rid of one of those doubled R's. It would leave Gride for his next play to go out.
Some combination of those two plays. Evans played Vent, which looks okay.
And so we're seeing Rared, I think that's how you would say it, as the outplay for Joel.
I've never seen that word.
I think Evans is just checking it just because Joel is laughing as they get up to check. It's nice to see him lighthearted in the circumstances as they go to check the word.
I haven't seen this word before. That's no guarantee of anything, but it looks like it is acceptable in Collins. Good job by Joel.
So Evans gives the courtesy nickel back, plus the 6 additional points. No, wait, Collins does it differently. 3 points from the M given. I believe it is 3 points added to Joel's rack and 3 taken off of Evans' rack. So with that, we have Evans through to semifinal action. Joel will be paired in his own mini round robin along with the other losers in the quarterfinals here. That will include Becky Dyer, And the other two players that will join them, we are not quite sure of yet.
Yeah, but